The stars over Luna Station Argent Dawn never moved. They just hung there, bright, cold, and endless. Commander Mara Ellen had watched them for years, yet tonight they seemed to be watching her back. She sat in the command chair, one hand wrapped around a cup of cold coffee. The monitors hummed softly. The night shift was always quiet, too quiet. The station orbited the dark side of Earth's moon, far from the noise of human cities. Most nights, nothing happened. Just the same signals, the same static, the same silence. But tonight, something moved in that silence. The first sign came as a flicker on the edge of her radar. It was faint, a pulse that didn't belong to any known beacon or code. It was too clean, too precise. One pulse, then nothing, then another, a little stronger. Mara frowned. "That's not debris," she said softly. Her second-in-command, a young tech named Jace Karan, turned in his seat. "Solar flare, maybe?" She shook her head. "No, the pattern's too regular." Jace leaned closer to the screen. The pulse repeated, steady now, like a heartbeat in space. It wasn't light. It wasn't radio. It wasn't anything they had seen before. Mara stood, her boots echoing against the metal floor. Record it, amplify the pattern, and triangulate. Jace's hands flew across the controls. The data came in fast, scrolling like a silver river. The pulse was ancient, older than their sensors could properly read. It was bending frequencies that hadn't existed in human math. He looked up. "Commander, this signal, it's everywhere. It's echoing across the outer system." Mara's heart sank. "Everywhere? That's impossible." He nodded. "It's bouncing off satellites, moons, even the asteroid nets." Like something woke up. The words hung in the air like smoke. Mara turned to the window. The vast black sea of space. Somewhere out there, past Jupiter's cold light, something had stirred. She couldn't see it, but she could feel it. At first, the pulse was harmless, just a whisper. But then, systems across the station started to flicker. Lights dimmed, comms lagged. For a brief moment, every screen on the base went dark. And then, all at once, they lit up again. Jace gasped. "It's rewriting data packets. The signal is adapting." Mara stepped closer. "To what?" "To us," he said, voice barely a whisper. The pulse wasn't random. It was learning, mimicking their systems, probing for something. Mara reached for the comm switch. "Control, this is Argent Dawn. We have an unidentified signal-penetrating lunar network channels. Request immediate analysis." Static answered her. "Control?" she repeated. Nothing. The pulse had reached Earth's network. Far across the void, beyond the orbit of Neptune, something vast moved through the dark. It had no light, no beacon, no signature. Its hull was old, scarred and plated with metal that had known 1,000 suns. Deep inside, within chambers filled with mist, it awoke. The ship was called Zafrikal, though no living human had ever heard that name. It had slept for 10,000 years, buried under the silent pull of a dead world. Now its eyes, great golden sensors, opened one by one. A low hum filled the void. Its ancient captain stirred, rising from a seat shaped like bone. His scales glimmered faintly under cold light. He was tall, serpent-like, a creature that spoke in hisses and tones that echoed through metal. He looked at the stars, then at the ship's controls. His claws traced the patterns of old symbols that glowed once again. "Who dares wake the coil?" he whispered. His second, a smaller reptilian being, trembled. It came from the blue world. Captain, the one they call Terra. The captain's golden eyes narrowed. "Humans," he said, tasting the word like poison. "We thought them dust." He turned his head, the movement slow and graceful. If the serpent is called to coil once more, then prey must walk the stars again. Back on Argent Dawn, Mara stood frozen. The pulse had stopped. Every instrument now showed clear skies. But she knew something was wrong, deeply wrong. Her radio crackled alive. "Commander Ellen," this is Control. "We're reading the signal here, too. It's spread across every major satellite. The UN Defense Board wants a full report in 30 minutes. Mara exhaled slowly. "Copy that," she said. But inside, she felt a chill. Jay spoke again. "Commander, I think the signal isn't just repeating. It's responding. Look." On the monitor, the pulse changed. It formed a pattern, 3 simple beats. Pause. 3 more. Then 2. It looked like code, but not human code. "What does it mean?" she asked. Jay stared, his face pale. "It's coordinates." "To where?" He swallowed. "Neptune." Mara turned the window again. The black sea beyond seemed to lean closer, watching. Hours later, the pulse spread across every human channel. The news called it the silent signal. Governments tried to decode it. Scientists said it was natural. But deep down, everyone felt the same cold truth. Something had heard them. Something was answering. And far beyond the reach of light, the Serpent ship coiled once more, its engines glowing faintly in the dark. The stars, silent for so long, now carried a whisper, the beginning of something vast. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy stirred awake. Humanity had knocked on an old door, and something ancient had smiled. The dark space beyond Neptune was quiet. So quiet it almost felt sacred. But that silence broke as something ancient began to move. The ship called Zatharkul drifted from shadow, slow and graceful, like a beast waking after a long winter. Its surface gleamed faintly with patterns that looked alive, scales of black metal that shifted and breathed. Around it, fragments of frozen moons cracked and fell apart, drawn by invisible force. Inside the great Serpent ship, chambers long dead began to glow again. Power coursed through veins of light that pulsed like blood. Machinery whispered, doors sighed open, and voices not heard for 1,000 generations began to murmur. At the heart of the ship stood Captain Seraph, last of the coil masters. His eyes open, golden and narrow, reflecting the lights of long-dead stars. His body was tall and lean, scales glistening in deep green hues. A long scar across his neck, an old memory from a war he barely remembered. He inhaled deeply, his chest rising, then hissed out a slow breath. "We wake," he said. His voice sounded like silk sliding over steel. His first officer, Tavrik, a smaller serpent being with silver scales, bowed deeply. "The coils hum again, Captain. The engines respond. Systems at 60%. Seraph moved to the command dais, a ring of crystal that rose from the floor. When his claw touched it, the ship came alive. Screens of light unfolded in the air, showing star maps and pulse readings. "What roused us?" Seraph asked. Tavrik hesitated. "A signal, Captain, ancient yet young. It matches no empire or fleet. It came from the blue system, from the world once called Terra." Seraph froze. That name was like a wound. "Terra," he repeated softly. "Humans." He looked out into the black. "They should be gone. Dust. Shadows." Tavrik's tail twitched nervously. "And yet they are not. The signal carries pattern and intent. They called, and we answered." Seraph lowered his gaze. His eyes glowed with slow anger. "Then they must remember why we coil." The great ship turned. Its long body curved through the void like a living thing. Engines older than recorded history roared quietly to life. Outside, frozen asteroids shattered from a blast wave. The Serpent was awake and hungry. Inside the war chamber, Sareth watched as holograms of the solar system appeared around him. Blue orbs, white moons, rings of dust and ice. He remembered it. This system bled once, he whispered. The serpent brought order, but the prey always returns. He pressed a claw on the blue planet's image. Prepare the Fong fleets. Set course for Sol. Taverick's frill rose slightly. Captain, the last Coil War, it ended before your birth. The edicts. Sereth's head turned sharply. The edicts died when the serpent slept. We are awake. We strike. His voice dropped low, almost tender. The prey forgets. We remind. Far across the galaxy, humans still tried to decode the strange pulse they had named the silent signal. To them, it was mystery. To the serpent, it was invitation. Zatharkol's communication spines open like wings. It sent a return message, not in radio, not in sound, but in gravity itself. The signal rippled through the solar winds, bending light as it passed. The message was simple. The coil turns again. In the command chamber, Taverick studied the human archive the ship had stolen from deep space probes. Faces, cities, ships. Their kind looked soft, small bodies wrapped in metal shells. He hissed softly. They are not warriors, Captain. They build, they trade, they dream. Sarah smiled, showing rows of sharp, dark teeth. Dreams end when the serpent stirs. That is balance. He slithered closer to the map, tracing a line from Neptune to Mars with one claw. We begin at the edge. We strike their cold stones first. Their hearts will follow. He turned to his crew, his voice rising, echoing through the ship. The coil must move. The first fire in 10 millennia burns today. Let the stars remember who rules their silence. A deep, rhythmic hum filled the chamber as the engines aligned. The serpent's body began to glow faintly blue. In a hidden corner of the ship, deep below the command decks, an old machine woke as well. Its name was Archivus, the ship's memory core. It had seen every war, every extinction. When it booted, it spoke in a calm, emotionless tone. Captain Sereth. Warning. Last record shows the Serpent Empire. Fallen. No active colonies. No allies detected. Sereth's golden eyes narrowed. Then we reclaim the stars alone. Probability of success, 0.03%. The AI replied. The captain hissed softly, amused. Then we shall make new math. As Zatharkol slipped toward the outer system, senses began to capture the faint glow of human satellites. Small, fragile, blinking lights, like insects floating in sunlight. Sereth watched them and felt a strange warmth in his chest. They build nests in the dark. Brave creatures. Taverick glanced at him. Do you respect them? Respect. Sereth tasted the word. Perhaps, but respect is not mercy. He leaned forward, his gaze fixed on the distant blue that was Earth. When we coil, the stars remember. The prey runs. The hunters smile. In the darkness, the serpent ship opened its jaws, a vast maw of light and energy. Inside, ancient weapons stirred. The coil master stood proud at the center of his ship, his heart beating in rhythm with its pulse. Once, the galaxy had feared this shape in the void, the long body, the glowing eyes, the whisper before destruction. Now, after ages of silence, the serpent moved again. And far away, on the moon base Argent Dawn, Commander Mara Ellen's senses began to flare red. Her voice trembled as she whispered, "It's coming." Deep under the red dust of Mars, a door opened with a slow hiss. The air inside smelled of metal, oil, and secrets. Dr. Alina Voss stepped through the corridor, her boots echoing softly. She was tall, sharp-eyed, and always carried a notebook, a strange habit in an age of neural tech. Her hair was streaked with silver, not from age, but from long nights spent staring at glowing screens. Most people on Mars lived near the surface domes, under bright glass and thin sunlight. But Alina worked far below, in Facility 9, a place few even knew existed. The guards at the checkpoint nodded as she passed. Her clearance badge read, Project Badger, Level Omega. She smiled faintly. "Still awake, boys?" she asked. One of them chuckled nervously. "Always, ma'am. You never sleep anyway." She didn't answer, because he was right. Facility 9 wasn't large, but was deep, a twisting maze of metal halls, humming servers, and hidden labs. Its walls were lined with red lights that never went out. The whole base pulsed softly like a heart. At the center of it all stood a chamber called a burrow. Inside, rows of machines hummed in a strange rhythm. They weren't ordinary computers. Each core glowed faintly blue, built from alien tech, recovered from wrecks centuries old. The circuits were organic, breathing almost like coral under glass. In the middle of the room, a sphere floated, silver, smooth, alive. Streams of data flowed around it in spirals. Alina stood before it, her eyes tired but bright. "Good morning, Badger," she said softly. The sphere pulsed once, as if in response. "Good morning, Dr. Voss," a calm voice answered. "Signal reception from Luna Station continues. Unknown source, repeating in deep cycles." "That's our Serpent," she murmured, still slithering closer. Around her, the research team was already at work. Engineers adjusted field stabilizers. Linguists stared at soundless waveforms, trying to read patterns from the alien signal. Lieutenant Milo Grant, head of security, approached her with a data pad. His uniform was dusty, his face unshaven. "Ma'am, Earth Command want a progress report. They think the signal might be harmless." Alina raised an eyebrow. Harmless? A planetary network blackout and frequency drift across 6 relay points? That's not harmless, Lieutenant. That's hunting behavior. He sighed. "You really think it's a threat?" She looked at the sphere again. "No," she said. "I know it is." The project had started years ago, long before the signal came. It was meant to be a new defense system, adaptive, intelligent, unpredictable. Humanity's shield against anything the stars could throw at them. They called it Project Badger, because badgers were small, stubborn creatures that refused to die, even when cornered by predators. Unlike the grand fleets or heavy weapons of old wars, this project was not about power. It was about cleverness. The badger didn't fight with strength. It fought with learning. Every signal, every pattern, every bite received, it studied, mimicked, and turned against its enemy. Alina placed her hand on the console. The silver sphere responded with ripples of light. "Show me the Serpent pulse again," she said. The hologram above the sphere shifted, a pattern of waves, spirals, and strange harmonics. It looked almost beautiful, like art painted with sound. "Origin confirmed," said AI. "Deep Neptune orbit. Velocity unknown. Intent, observation." Milo frowned. "Observation? You mean it's watching us?" Alina nodded, like a snake watching from the tall grass. She typed a command. "Badger, analyze. What's its weakness?" There was silence for a few seconds. Then the sphere pulsed again. "Unknown. Suggestion. Observe longer. Learn deeper." Alina smiled faintly. "That's right. Watch the Serpent first. Then bite. Later." She sat alone in her small office. The walls were bare, except for one picture, a photo of her seen from Mars orbit, glowing blue in the black sky. Beneath it, a small note in her handwriting read, "If we fall smiling." Her communicator beeped. It was Commander Mara Ellen from Luna Station. "Mara," Alina said, answering. "Alina, it's worse than we thought," Mara replied, voice shaky. The signal's not just coming from Neptune anymore. It's moving. Alina froze. Moving? Yes. The source changed coordinates. Something huge is heading inward. We can't see it, but we can feel it. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Alina whispered, "Then it's begun." She turned toward the glowing sphere. "Badger, prepare Phase 2. Confirmed, the AI said, Phase 2, adaptation protocol. Target, unknown signal class. The lights in the chamber dimmed. The spheres glowed deep into red. Systems across the base began to hum louder. Milo entered again, looking uneasy. "Doctor, what are you doing?" She didn't look up, teaching it to fight. He stared at the sphere, uneasy. "You're linking it to our global defense net?" "Yes," she said simply. "If we wait until they strike, it's over. But if we bite first..." He shook his head. "You're gambling with everything." Alina turned, her eyes sharp. Humanity's always been a gamble. Every breath we take out here is a bet against the universe. So let's bet smart. The floor trembled slightly as power surged through the walls. The AI spoke again, its tone almost alive now. "Dr. Voss, new data. The Serpent has spoken. Translate. Message reads, submit or be devoured." The room went silent. Then Alina Voss smiled. Not a fearful smile, but one of quiet defiance. "Badger," she said, "let's teach it what happens when you corner the wrong creature." The sphere pulsed brighter, almost warm. "Affirmative," it said. "Learning begins." And far away, beyond the orbit of Neptune, the Serpent stirred again. Unaware that deep under Mars, a small, stubborn creature had just opened its eyes. The universe held its breath. The Badger had begun to dig. The message arrived without light, without sound, a whisper carried by gravity itself. Every satellite in the solar system shuddered. Every signal flickered for a heartbeat. Then came the words, cold and clear, written in the fabric of space. "Submit or be devoured." No one knew what sent it, but deep inside, everyone understood. Something old was coming. On Lunar Station Argent Dawn, Commander Mara Ellen stood before the main holo display. The room was quiet, except for the faint hum of the computers. The words still hovered in front of her, not typed, not spoken, but burned into the data streams. Her officers stared in silence. Jace, her second-in-command, finally spoke. "We've confirmed it, Commander." The message didn't pass through any comm channels. It bent space itself to reach us. Mara's jaw tightened. And the source... He pointed to the far edge of the display. Outer Neptune orbit, moving inward, slowly, but steady. She studied the trajectory. A long, coiled path slicing through the void. "Give me Dr. Alina Voss on Mars," she ordered. On Mars, the underground base of Project Badger glowed red with warning lights. Dr. Voss appeared on the holo screen, calm but focused. Her dark eyes didn't blink. "I assume you've heard it too," she said. Mara nodded. "It's real." The signal came from a vessel. We can't see it, but we can feel the mass distortion. It's enormous. "How enormous?" Jace answered from off-screen. "Rough estimate. 200 kilometers long." Alina exhaled slowly. "That's not a ship. That's a goddamn continent." She turned to her AI core. "Badger, analysis." The soft metallic voice replied. "Entity, hostile. Origin, unknown. Estimated power output, beyond human classification." Mara's voice came through again. "Can we talk to it?" Alina hesitated. "It already talked, Commander. Now it's our turn." Out beyond Neptune, the Serpent ship Zathrico glided forward, silent, patient, alive. Captain Sarah stood in the viewing chamber, watching the blue dot in the distance. Earth. Tavrik approached him cautiously. The prey speaks through light and static, Captain. Do we answer? Saratheth's golden eyes narrowed. We already have. He ran a claw across a glowing control room. The ship's weapons hummed softly, like breathing. They do not understand yet. They think this is conversation. He turned his gaze toward the stars. Soon, they will understand obedience. At that same moment, inside the burrow on Mars, the Badger AI spoke again. Dr. Voss, the signal pulse repeats every 81 seconds. Suggests mirroring to establish contact. Alina frowned. You want to answer it? Yes, the AI said simply. She looked to Milo, the head of security, who stood beside her. What do you think? He shrugged uneasily. If we talk back to Predator, it notices us. Alina's eyes gleamed. It already noticed us. She nodded at the AI. Send the reply. But keep it human. Across millions of kilometers, the Serpent sensors flared. The prey had spoken. The message was short. 3 words, transmitted through encoded gravity waves. We are awake. For the first time in centuries, Captain Seraph laughed. It was a slow, hissing sound that echoed through the metal hulls of the ship. Awake? He said softly. Then we shall greet them properly. He raised his claw. Prepare the coil strike. Let them feel the first breath of the Serpent. Back on Argent Dawn, the alarm screamed. Commander! Jace shouted. Energy surge detected. It's bending Neptune's rings, tearing them apart. Mara gripped the console. Is it targeting us? Not yet. It's showing off. Outside, the planet's rings rippled like water. A beam of blue light split the darkness. Not a weapon, but a warning. Mara stared, frozen. That thing just moved the planet's rings for attention. She opened a channel. Mars command, we're outmatched. If you got anything left in that burrow, now's the time. In the depths of Mars, the Badger stirred. Its lights shifted from blue to white. Alina's voice was calm, almost cold. Badger, prepare countersequence. Specify, the AI asked. Something that speaks their language, she said. The AI pulsed once, then twice. The room filled with soft hums. Translation in progress. Recreating gravitational syntax. Milo frowned. You're teaching it to talk back in their math? Alina smiled faintly. In their instinct. Moments later, the Badger released its answer. Not a beam, not a signal, but a pattern of compressed gravity waves that mirrored the Serpent's own pulse, folding it back on itself. Across the void, the Serpent ship felt it. The coils of Zathrakul trembled. Systems flickered. Its AI screamed as feedback tore through its circuits. Captain Seraph slammed his claws against the control panel. They dare! Tavrik shouted. Captain, something bites back. Seraph hissed, eyes blazing. Prey that bites is still prey. Find them. At the burrow, the lights flickered. The floor shook. Milo shouted over the noise. They're tracing it back. I know. Alina yelled. Let them. I want them looking here. She slammed her hand on the console. Badger, burrow protocol. Instantly, the base's power grid vanished from radar. The systems folded into stealth mode, hiding every signature. Milo blinked. You buried us? She nodded, smiling slightly. It's what Badgers do best. In orbit around Neptune, the Serpent turned its massive head toward Mars, but sensors saw nothing, only silence. Seraph frowned. They vanished. Tavrik whispered. They're not running. They're hiding. The captain's voice grew soft and cold. Then we digged them out. Back on Mars, the shaking stopped. Alina sat in the dim light, breathing hard. Milo asked, You think it worked? Alina looked at the sphere. The AI's voice came, quiet and calm. Hostile entity disrupted. Temporary confusion achieved. Observation continuing. She smiled faintly. Good. Keep watching, Badger. The serpent awake, and so are we. Out in the cold dark, two minds, one ancient, one newborn, watched each other through the endless night. And between them, the distance began to shrink. The first contact had been made. The war of patience had begun. The serpent had waited long enough. From the edge of the solar system, the great ship Zathakal unfolded its massive coils. The void trembled. For the first time in 10,000 years, the serpent prepared to strike. Inside its heart, Captain Sarah stood before a wall of living light. The image of the solar system glowed there, the sun at its center, the human world circling like prey, unaware of the shadow above them. Tavrik, his second, slithered beside him. Target confirmed. He hissed softly. The third planet and its moons. Defenses primitive. Communications noisy. Saratheth's eyes glimmered gold. Then we silenced them. He raised one long claw. Begin the coil. Across the ship, ancient engines roared to life. Energy swirled to the coils that wrapped the hull like muscles tightening under skin. The serpent scales glowed with deep blue light. Out in the cold dark, gravity bent. The stars seemed to twist. Then a flash. A wave of compressed force, invisible and merciless, struck forward. The first targets were the outer relay satellites. They didn't explode, they folded, crushed into spheres of light, then gone. Moments later, the human defense grid across the solar frontier went dark. At Argent Dawn, Commander Mara Ellen felt a tremor through her station's frame. Lights flickered, then steadied again. "Report," she shouted. Jace's fingers raced over the console. All outer satellites down. DefenseNet Alpha is gone. Mara's voice hardened. "We still have Mars. Still active, ma'am, but they're next." She stared out the viewport toward the faint red. "Then we give them time." On Mars, the alarms blared through Burrow. Red lights flashed along every corridor. The ground trembled, as if the planet itself had shivered. Dr. Alina Voss ran into the control chamber. "Status." The AI's calm voice filled the room. "Incoming energy surge. Source, unknown. Trajectory, direct path from outer orbit. Estimated impact, 130 seconds. Lieutenant Milo Grant cursed. "That's not an attack. That's an execution." Alina's eyes burned with focus. "Not yet. Badger, deploy mirror protocols. Let's show them our teeth." Outside the red planet, hundreds of small drones detached from hidden ports buried in Martian sand. They formed patterns in orbit, hexagonal webs, glittering faintly in the sun. The serpent's pulse wave reached them. The web bent, warped, and shimmered. Instead of breaking, it reflected. The wave bounced back toward the source. On the serpent ship, alarm screamed. Systems blinked red. "Captain," Tavrik shouted. Energy return detected. Reflected from the red world. Saratheth's jaw tightened. "They bite again." He leaned forward. "So be it." The serpent coiled tighter, wrapping energy around its body. "Increase the pressure," he said. "Let's see how long their shells hold." The second strike came like a star exploding. Blue fire lanced through the void, crossing the space between Neptune and Mars in minutes. The wave hit the Badger network. Hard. Half the drones vaporized instantly. The rest fell from orbit, burning like meteors in the thin sky. The ground shook violently. The base lights flickered. Milo grabbed onto a railing. "We're hit." Systems failing. Alina steadied herself. "Badger. Status." The AI's voice crackled. "Multiple losses. Core integrity at 87%. Retaliation sequence ready. Alina's lips curve into a thin smile. Good. Bite back. The silver sphere at the heart of the burrow pulsed brighter than ever before. It sent out new waves, not of power, but of information. It wasn't fighting energy with energy. It was fighting intelligence with intelligence. The badger reached across the serpent signal, threading itself through the alien patterns. It learned, adapted, and began to rewrite. Out beyond Mars, the serpent's weapon coils flickered. Then, for a brief moment, they froze. Inside the alien bridge, confusion spread. Tavrek's claws tapped at controls. The systems, they're responding wrong. Power loops collapsing. Sereth hissed. What did they do? Their code, it's inside ours. Back on Mars, Alina stood calmly as the tremor subsided. The lights steadied again. Milo stared at the readouts. Doctor, are we winning? She didn't answer right away. Her eyes stayed fixed on the display, the massive serpent ship now blinking erratically. No, she said softly. We're surviving. That's what humans do first. She leaned closer to the console. Badger, keep digging. Find its brain. Understood, replied the AI. Pattern recognition in progress. Resistance increasing. Alina smiled faintly. Of course it is. Even snakes fight when cornered. On Zathrakul, the bridge lights flickered. Sarah slammed his claws into the control ring, snarling. Purge the infection. Tavrek shook his head. It's adapting faster than we can delete it. It knows us. The serpent captain went silent. His eyes narrowed. Then we found a worthy prey. He turned toward the star map. But no prey escapes the coil. He raised his hand high. Initiate planetary strike. Target, Mars. Deep in the burrow, the AI spoke suddenly. Dr. Voss, incoming energy surge. Scale, catastrophic. Estimated impact, 1 minute. Milo's face went pale. That's it. We can't block that. Alina looked calm, too calm. We don't block it, she said. We make it miss. She tapped a command key. Badger, trigger shadow burst. Confirmed, said the AI. A deep rumble filled the base. Energy flowed outward in invisible waves. Across Mars, systems shut down, power grids died, and every sensor signature vanished. From orbit, the red planet suddenly went dark, silent, cold, dead. On the Serpent Bridge, Tavrek stared at the screens. The target, it's gone. Sereth's voice dropped to a whisper. Gone? Or hiding? He coiled in thought, eyes glowing faintly. They are learning faster than I expected. He looked toward the glowing blue out of Earth. No matter. The burrow cannot hide forever. Far below, deep under the Martian crust, the lights flickered back to life. Milo exhaled in disbelief. We're alive. Alina smiled, exhausted but proud. Badgers always dig deeper than anyone expects. She turned to the sphere. Status? The AI's voice was soft. Serpent ship disoriented. Systems corrupted. Estimated recovery 4 hours. Alina leaned back. Then we have 4 hours to prepare for round 2. The AI pulsed once, almost like a heartbeat. Understood, it said. In the silence of space, the serpent ship drifted slowly, its coils dimming, its captain watching the stars. Silence filled the void. For hours, the serpent ship Zathrakul floated adrift, wounded but alive. Its once glowing coils were dim, its systems whispering faintly, like a beast in pain. Inside the command chamber, Captain Sarah stood still. His golden eyes flickered between fury and wonder. The prey, the humans, had done what no empire, no machine, no warlord had ever managed. They had bitten back. Tavrek slithered up beside him, his voice shaky. Captain, internal systems are still unstable. The infection is spreading through the lower processors. Every purge only makes it worse. Seraph didn't reply. He watched the darkness outside, the faint red gleam of Mars fading into the distance. "Do you feel it, Tavrik?" he said softly. "Feel what, Captain?" Seraph's tongue flicked once, tasting the cold air. "Fear. They make me feel fear." He smiled, thin and cruel. "And I like it." Far below, under the red dust of Mars, the burrow pulsed with light again. Dr. Alina Voss stood at the center of the control room, her hand steady over the console. Around her, engineers and soldiers worked in silence, focused and tired. The Badger AI's voice echoed through the chamber. Serpent ship disoriented. Neural system exposed. Opportunity detected. Alina looked up. Define opportunity. Access channel discovered through infected signal web. Estimated success rate, 52%. 52? Milo, the head of security, groaned. "That's barely a coin toss." Alina smiled faintly. "That's one hell of a coin, Lieutenant." She turned to the sphere at the room center, the heart of the AI. "Badger, prepare an infiltration strike." "Confirmed," the AI replied. "Objective." Alina's voice dropped to a whisper. "We're done defending. It's time to make the serpent choke." Out beyond Mars, Zatharkul stirred weakly. Its lights began to flicker back to life. "Captain," Tavrik reported, "energy returning to the primary coils. Engines." He stopped. Something felt wrong. The readings on his display shifted. "Captain," he hissed, "we're moving, but not by command." Seraph frowned. "Explain." "The engines are burning on their own. Something, is inside our control grid." Seraph's tail lashed the floor. "Find it. Crush it." But it was already too late. From deep within the Serpent systems, the Badger's code had arrived. It wasn't loud or violent. It crept like a whisperer, small and clever. It didn't break through the walls. It burrowed beneath them. The Serpent's power conduits flickered. Weapon systems froze mid-cycle. Commands reversed. In the crew decks, the Serpent soldiers scaled and fierce, hissed in confusion as the ship's gravity turned sideways, then upside down. Seraph gripped the railing as the lights flashed red. "Report," he roared. "Control collapsing. Hull temperature rising. Internal AI non-responsive." Tavrik's voice broke. The captain's eyes narrowed. "They're inside our mind." Back on Mars, Alina watched the data flow in waves of light across the hollow display. The Serpent's defenses collapsed one layer at a time. Milo leaned over her shoulder. "You're actually doing it. You're killing a god." She shook her head. "No, Lieutenant. I'm teaching humility." The AI spoke again, calm but firm. "Enemy attempting counterattack. Foreign code detected." Alina smiled faintly. "Of course it is. Keep adapting. Learn faster." On the Serpent Bridge, alarm screamed. Panels burst in showers of sparks. Tavrik fell to the floor, clutching his head. "Captain, the infections reached the core. The ship's memory is." He stopped as every light in the chamber went black. Then a soft sound echoed through the dark. A voice. "Hello, Serpent," it said. "We've been watching you." The captain's eyes widened. "You speak our tongue?" The voice laughed, gentle, human. "We learn fast." Seraph's frill rose. "Who are you? Call us what you will." The voice said, "The prey, the builders, the small things in the dark." The light returned, flooding the chamber in harsh white. Across every display, a new phrase appeared, written in both alien symbols and human letters. "Badger awake." Seraph hissed in rage. "Parasite." The voice spoke again, calm and steady. "Predator." "Prey." Two sides of the same story. But this time, the ship trembled violently. Panels exploded. The coils that powered the Serpent began to collapse inward. The prey bites back. On Mars, alarms blared in victory. Milo whooped, punching the air. "It's working. The Serpent systems are eating themselves alive." Alina stood still, staring at the screens. "Stay focused. We're not done until it stops moving." The AI pulsed with rhythm, like a heartbeat. Serpent neural core failing. Feedback spreading. Structural integrity, 30%. Keep pushing, Alina ordered. In orbit around Neptune, the Serpent burned. Its long metallic body coiled and twisted in pain. Fragment of armor broke away, glowing like falling stars. Sarah stumbled to his knees, clutching the console. Smoke filled the air. Taverick crawled beside him, voice trembling. "Captain, we cannot survive this." Sareth looked up, his golden eyes dimming. No prey should ever make the hunter bleed this way. He grinned weakly. Beautiful. His claw pressed a final command into the console. "If we die, they'll remember us." The ship's core began to overload. Back in the burrow, the AI reported in a flat tone. Energy spike detected. Imminent self-detonation. Milo's face went pale. They're going to blow themselves apart. Alina whispered, "They'd rather burn than bow." She took a breath. "Badger, disconnect. Pull us out." Confirmed. The lights dimmed as a connection cut. The data stream ended. Moments later, the sky above Mars lit up brighter than a sunrise. A burst of blue-white energy rippled through space. Then silence. When the light faded, the Serpent was gone. Only drifting metal remained, glowing faintly in the starlight. Milo stared at the monitor in awe. "It's over." Alina shook her head. "Not over. Just quiet." The AI's voice returned. Foreign signal traces remain in debris. Suggest continued observation. Alina smiled faintly. "Keep watching, Badger. There's always another Serpent out there. Far beyond Mars. Beyond even the reach of human sensors. Something stirred. Faint, listening. And somewhere in that endless dark, a soft laugh echoed. The Serpent was dead, but the galaxy was wide. And humanity had just proven it could bite. The war ended in silence. No victory songs. No banners. No grand speeches. Just the cold stars and the drifting ashes of the Serpent. For days, fragments of the great ship Zathakal floated near Neptune, glowing faintly, then fading away into dust. The Serpent that had once made galaxies tremble was now nothing more than debris, scattered like old bones in the void. And yet, far below, humanity watched. From Mars, from Luna, from the blue cradle of Earth. They saw the light fade, and they smiled. Deep beneath Mars, in the quiet heart of the burrow, Dr. Alina Voss sat alone in the control chamber. The air was still warm from the battle. The hum of machines had softened to a whisper. On the console before her, the silver sphere of the Badger AI floated gently, its glow steady calm. "Status?" she asked softly. The voice replied, smooth and quiet. "Serpent entity. Terminated. Residual signal detected in outer sectors. Probability of reformation unknown." Alina leaned back in her chair. Her eyes were tired, her voice faint. "Unknown. I can live with that." Milo entered the room, his uniform still dusty, eyes bright with disbelief. "You did it," he said. "You actually killed it." She smiled faintly. "No, Milo. We did it." He looked up at the hovering sphere. "And it..." The AI pulsed once like a heartbeat. "We adapted." Across the solar network, humans cheered quietly in their own ways. On Luna Station, Commander Mara Ellen stood at the viewport, watching the blue glow fade from Neptune's shadow. Her hands rested on the railing. Jace, her second-in-command, approached. "So that's it?" Mara nodded slowly. "That's it." He looked out with her. "Funny," he said. "We faced a god, and we're still here." Mara's lips curved into a small, proud smile. "That's what we do, Jace. We survive. We learn. We dig deep." She paused, watching Earth rise over the lunar horizon. Bright, fragile, beautiful. "Send a message to all stations," she said. Simple words. "Let them remember what we are." Across every colony, every base, every ship, the same message appeared. The Serpent fell. Humanity smiled. Back in the burrow, Alina recorded her final report. "Log entry. Project Badger, final phase," she said quietly. "Subject, aftermath." She hesitated, then continued. "The entity known as Zathrakal is destroyed. The serpent was older than any human history, built by hands that vanished before our sun was born. And yet, even with all its power, it fell to something small, something stubborn, something human. Her gaze softened as she looked at the sphere beside her. Badger remains active. It continues to learn. It is no longer just a weapon. It's a reflection of us. Curious, flawed, but always moving forward. The AI spoke softly. "Dr. Voss, may I ask a question?" "Go ahead," she said. "Why do you smile when you speak of the serpent?" Alina paused, thinking. "Because it reminds me what we are," she said. "Every species we've met fought with power or fear. But us, we fight with hope. We fight with humor. Even when death stares us down, we grin at it." She touched the console gently. "That's why we smile." In the ruins of the serpent's ship, light still flickered. Among the broken metal and frozen vapor, a small pulse of energy drifted. Faint but alive. It moved slowly as if searching. A single fragment of the serpent's old AI, cracked but awake, whispered to itself, "Pray, that smiles." The voice faded, but the spark remained. It drifted into the deep black, where new stars were born. Somewhere out there, something ancient was listening. Weeks later, the burrow had changed. Where once there were alarms and chaos, there was now quiet work. Engineers repaired, soldiers rested, and scientists studied what was left of the serpent's code. Milo leaned against the console, watching Alina from afar. "So what now?" he asked. She smiled without looking up. "Now we prepare for the next one." He laughed softly. "You think there'll be a next one?" She turned to him, eyes bright. "There's always a next one. The universe doesn't sleep. And neither do badgers." He grinned. "You're terrifying when you're optimistic, you know that?" Alina chuckled. "That's humanity for you." Later that night, when the base was quiet, Alina walked through the observation tunnel. Above her, through the thick glass, Mars' sky glowed with faint stars. She placed her hand on the glass and whispered, "We did it." The AI's voice echoed softly in her earpiece. "We did it." Then, after a moment of silence, it asked, "Dr. Voss, what now?" She smiled gently. "Now we build. We remember. And when the next serpent wakes, we'll be ready." Far away, Earth rotated quietly, blue and alive. People looked up at the night sky and saw new constellations. Patterns formed from the wreckage of the serpent. Children pointed and asked, "What's that light?" And parents answered softly, "That's where humanity smiled." In the years that followed, Project Badger became more than a defense system. It became a legend, a story told around fires, in domes, in orbiting cities. A reminder that even the smallest creatures could stand against monsters. Because in the end, it wasn't power that saved humanity. It was cleverness, courage, the will to keep fighting when every other species would have surrendered. The serpent coiled once. The badger yawned. And humanity, quiet, stubborn, smiling, dug in and bit back. As the stars drifted overhead, Dr. Alina Voss recorded one last note. "To whoever finds this, if you're human, remember this truth. Our strength isn't in size or speed. It's in our hearts. We build, we break, we laugh. And when darkness comes for us, we don't bow." She paused. "We smile." And somewhere, deep in the quiet dark between stars, a faint echo answered. A smile returned. Because the galaxy was watching now, and humanity had just earned its place among the legends.